My husband's obesity is destroying our marriage. Sounds awful, but I'm looking for insight on anyone who has experienced this or can provide perspective from his post of view. I'm at my wit's end and it's awful, but I don't know what I can do about it. I am an average to small woman, 5 feet 4 inches and 43 years. My husband is 5 feet 10 inches 44 years and almost 300 pounds. He was fit and athletic when I met him 25 years ago, but has steadily increased his weight the whole time. We've been married 20 years, have 2 children together. I love him, and he is a dedicated partner and parent. The biggest problem right now is ultimately his weight. It's gotten to a point and for long enough that I am struggling to move past the resentment of him not actively working to lose weight. He'll try a diet until he cheats, then considers it a failure, so gives up completely and goes back to eating too much. Every time he drinks too much has been a problem before, less so now, but definitely binges. He'll try to start exercising and will go to the gym regularly for maybe 2 weeks tops, then give up that too. This has been the pattern for years. I try to be supportive, encourage without berating, provide healthy food at home, etc. Fat shaming is a criticism I want to avoid, but the reality is that this affects my life, too, and I don't know how to cope anymore. Brutal honesty here: I'm not attracted to him anymore. At all. He carries his weight in an enormous beer belly. We cannot kiss without me having to bend over it. I want to cry anytime he hugs me because I can barely get my arms around me and certainly cannot put my head against his chest without him bending down awkwardly. I can't watch him put shoes on, struggle to get out of bed without vivid memories of being 9 months pregnant and how much it sucked doing easy daily things with that belly. He has severe sleep apnea, which in the last 2 years he has finally begun consistently using his machine for, but even then I have to be on him like he's a child to remind him to put it on, or I have to deal with the snoring and choking, which at this point just fills me with rage and resentment. The reason I can't sleep in the same room as him anymore though, is the smell. OMG, the farts. When I try to sleep in our room and I walk into the smell of a septic lagoon, I want to cry. And it's all the time. Just when I think it's safe and I'm brushing my teeth to get ready for bed, I'll hear another thunderous fart. He has massive gastric issues that he's been to the doctor for, and their only answer is it's due to his obesity. He has chronic loose stool, I guess, as it's not diarrhea, but it destroys the toilets and it has come to be referred to as buffalo shits. I get so angry when I clean the bathroom and just hours later the toilet is completely plastered that he's incapable of cleaning it up himself is another matter. Sex is difficult, and it is now an issue. The quality is not important. He makes up for performance issues with skill in other ways, but the intimacy has greatly suffered. People call it fat shaming to blame health issues on obesity, but literally every medical issue he has would be solved by weight loss. He did successfully lose 50 pounds 6 or 7 years ago and his sleep apnea magically vanished, only to return when he gained it back. Even his body odor has changed to rancid. I didn't mean for this to get so long, but context is needed. I don't know what to do. It's all in his hands and it doesn't mean enough to him. I don't want to leave him because he's fat. I love him, but I resent the duck out of him at this point. I want to sleep with my husband. I want to be able to snuggle up to him. I want to be able to hug and kiss without being a contortionist. I want to be able to have meaningful friendly intercourse again without me being unable to breathe being a legitimate concern. I've had a glimmer of what his life is like. Long story short, I went backpacking and ended up on the return journey with a pack more than double the recommended amount more my size. When I worked it out later, my pack was roughly equivalent to the extra weight he carries every day. To have even just spent several hours walking and trying to do things under that weight made it so real for me. Like needing to pick something up from the ground and seriously considering if it was worth it. I wanted to cry that he carries that pack every day. But he won't drop it, he just keeps putting more in. And I don't want this to be my life until he dies early from it. I honestly don't know if I could forgive him if his weight kills him. Too long didn't read. My husband's weight is ruining my life, our marriage, and I can't talk about it without being labeled fat shaming. If you managed to read this all, I truly thank you. I appreciate any insight you can provide, good or bad. Edit. Thank you all so far for the responses. I'm struggling to read them all. I'll try to address some of the reoccurring questions comments here, but I am trying to get to them individually. 1. The body odor issue is more a change in his personal scent, not a hygiene issue. I am a very scent-driven person, so I noticed the change in probably the last 2, maybe 3 years or so. He showers every day, and I don't think it's something other people really notice, but me being in close proximity and familiar with his scent, it is noticeably awful. 2. Those pointing out depression are right, and I should have added that detail. He is on an antidepressant, which helps regulate, but it's definitely not a cure-all for mental health. 2. There is definitely a metric shitload of undealt with trauma in his past and significant issues that he's working through. He still struggles with recognizing just how violent his own upbringing was and how it affects his behavior. To be fair, he has made some significant behavioral improvements in the last couple of years, and even quit smoking minus a few lapses. Unfortunately, the consequence seems to be that he's gotten worse on a dietary level. 3. He was on Ozempic. It didn't help him and led to a lot of increased gastric issues. He's been medically cleared of most of the issues. One would look for his sister as a doctor who advocates for him and makes sure he pushes for the tests he needs. He has worked with a gastroenterologist and he's still seeing his physician to try to resolve any issues they can. I am fully confident that his doctors have ruled out every horse that could be causing weight gain. They're left with looking for zebras, but again, until he can actually maintain a reasonable caloric intake, they cannot truly confirm if he's gaining or holding weight in an abnormal way. 3. We live in a small town, maybe 1,700 people, a step up from the last place where the nearest village was 200. There is a big gym here, but it's municipal and they don't have personal trainers and the programs are only month-long one-offs with no consistency. I would happily pay for one if there was one. Same issue with dietitians, counseling and psychiatry. The nearest resources are almost an hour and a half drive away. We are going to have to revisit online counseling, but we have done it in the past and find it a lot more difficult than in-person sessions. But enough of you have insisted, so you are probably right. Even something is better than nothing. 4. To those who suggested counseling, especially couples counseling, I think this is the direction I will try go in order to bring up these issues to him. The more comments I read, the more I recognize that many of you are right. I really need to have this conversation with him, but I think it will be best with a mediator. I am by no means a perfect individual and I'm worried any conversation about my issues with him will devolve into a counterattack that I have failings as well that he isn't holding against me. Again, thank you all for your perspectives.